Let's get started. Hey folks, today, I was going to say this morning, but it's now noon. Today I'm going to build out this Euler node starter project, which if you want you can hop out and clone and we can work on it together. I'd even take pull requests if you're quick. I have another project that's already got a bunch of my Project Euler things in it, which, if I can get the URL right, I'll show in a second. Which is over here at my Euler node repo. But if you want to do these Project Euler problems yourself, you probably don't want this one. This will have spoilers in it. This has a bunch of my stuff in it. But I'm gonna use this as just a place to steal some of the starting code that we're gonna use. So I'm gonna keep this handy. What is Project Euler, you might wonder? Well, that's this, if I could type it, projecteuler.net. Right, there we go. It's just a bunch of math problems, basically. So they're handy to use for learning a new programming language. So, you know, let's say you've never done node.js and you want to learn how to do stuff with Node and JavaScript instead of C# or whatever you normally use. Come out here, go to the archives. I suggest you sign in because it'll keep track of your progress. But pick a problem. You can start with the first one. It's pretty easy. This is from 2001. It's been around for a while. And this one says list all the natural numbers. If we start with just the ones below 10, and we sum up the ones that are multiples of 3 and 5, we get 23. Find the sum of all the multiples below 1,000. So you could do this manually, but it would take you a long time. So let's see, I'm going to sign in real quick. Alright, so I've solved a few of these, and let's get started on this Euler node starter. Alright, and I'm going to pull up I need more monitors is what I need. I need a monitor just for the chat. Hey everybody. Because I have a hard time watching the chat when I've got all my monitors used up on work stuff. Alright, so let's see. Will that let me see? There's the chat. Alright. I will try and watch the chat. So, in my other project, I have the basic things I need, like package JSON and things like that. So let's go to the file system real quick. I'm just going to copy those things over and get those checked in. So if any of you want to clone it, you can do a git pull and get the latest in a moment. So what am I trying to do? I want to go here and reveal and explore. There's that. Okay. And I want to do the same thing with the other one. I was going to try and have this set up before we started, but I didn't quite get to it. Let's see, I want the git ignore, probably the index.json, and I'll just take those things, copy those over here. Alright, so with that, I just added a few things. That looks good. I didn't have a git ignore before. Okay, this says starting Project Euler solver, usage, blah blah blah. Alright, I have to have Node installed for this to work, and my readme on the other file tells me I want to run npm install, I believe. That's what it says. So there's npm install ran, and I give you my Node modules. And then we want to do node index.js-pn, and this should give me some error, like I don't have a solutions problem n. Alright, that's because I don't have that yet. So we're going to create this folder called solutions, and I'm going to pop over there and grab problem n and paste it over here, and then we'll just kind of sanitize it. So where is that? Solutions, problem n, get rid of that, and say to do, find the sum of all multiples of 3 and 5 less than the max. Alright, so that would be your homework for that. And I can run this again. And it says it can't find problem n. You lie, it's right there. Alright. Hey, really like your weekly dev tips. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Actually, I'm trying to get some more of them done this week, because I haven't got very many done this year so far. But there's one going live tomorrow, and I have another one all scripted out. I just have to record it. Alright, there's problem 1.js. I don't have to compile anything. This is JavaScript. So, what is your problem here? npm install. That should be fine. Yep, nothing else to change. Node. I'm in the right folder. Oh, I can't say n. That's stupid. That should be 1. There we go. Alright, so my solution is 0, which is not correct, but we will try and fix it. Alright, so I should probably tell the README a little bit more information. So let's go here, and let's add some instructions. So, getting started, install node npm. I need a link for that at some point. Let's do npm install, and then what did I just type? Node index.js dash p, which is for problem 1. This should run the first, I can't type, the first solution in the solutions folder, which is provided. You will need to calculate the correct answer after, let's see, to find the problems and verify your solutions, go to projecteuler.net. Let's see, problem list, and let's say register link so you can track your progress. Alright, so that's that. Now let's go find those links, and then I'll commit, and then if you want to follow along with this, you can do so. So, let me find, I had a Project Euler. No. Too many windows. Is it this one? There it is. Problem archive is there. So I'm going to drop that in there. And then the register link is /register. Drop that in there. We'll save that. There's all that. And boom. Now if you want to follow along, please do. Your instructions are to go out to github.com/ardalis/Euler node starter and clone this, and you should be all set. And we're going to solve the first problem together, and then maybe we'll skip a few and jump to a difference. Well, yeah, the next thing I want to add to this, let's add an issue for this. I want to have tests built into this. So add support for, let's say, Jasmine Tests. Optionally, folks should be able to run tests for their solutions. So we'll submit that. And I'm going to try and do that, but it's been a while since I did Jasmine with Node, and there's a ton of different ways to do it, so I'm not sure which one is the right way. So if any of you that are watching are like, super experts with Node and Jasmine, you can basically give me some tips in the comments. I'd appreciate it. But this should be all we need to do before we can start, maybe just jumping through some additional projects. And I would love it if any of you want to play around with this yourself. Grab this and basically you should already have Node installed. Let's find a link for that. Install node.js. Right there. So that's probably a good link to drop in there. I'll just cheat and do it here. Install node.js. Like that. Alright, then you got a link and do those things. Right, theoretically that should work. Anybody want to tell me? Does this work for you? And let me send a note to somebody real quick. No. Alright. Anybody? Nobody's tried it? You guys are supposed to be following along. Alright. Let's see. I'm going to go back to code here. And I don't need the readme anymore, but let's just verify it got updated. Git pull. Grabs me the latest. So there's my link, so it's good. Alright, so if I wanted to solve that, I would, but I don't want to do that because that will obviously screw up other people's things. So what I really want to do now is work on that issue, which is to install Jasmine. And if I want to install Jasmine, I want to probably just do an npm install something. So let's see, what's that going to look like? Actually, you know what, there's something else I want to add to the readme, so hang on, let's do this. Sign back in, put in there a silly number. Remember me, sign in, go to this first problem, which is right there. Oops, let's sign out. If I sign out, is it going to show me the answer? Let's see. Go to this first problem, it won't show it. Alright, let's register as some random new person. Register as fake user with some password. Register. What? I want a screenshot. Yeah, sure, I read your policy. Register that. Your account. Alright, good. You may now sign in. I really just did this. Silly website. Alright, now we're going to go here. And I'm going to say this should be your first task. So let's go back to that readme that I said I didn't need. And find the description of the first problem here. After registering, you can submit your answer to see if it's correct. Alright, now we're going to screenshot something. There's a cool trick you may or may not know, which is that you can cut and paste screenshots into GitHub. So we're going to do this. Okay, that's fine. And I'm just going to copy that screenshot. We're going to go back to here, And you can't actually copy paste it into, like in here. That would be too cool. But what you can do is you can come out here and just create some issue or comment, or there's a bunch of ways you can do it. But what I'll often do is just create an images issue, which I'll then close so it doesn't clutter things up, and paste my image in, and that gives me exactly the markdown that I need. And I don't even need to submit this, I could just delete it, but I'll submit it just so I've got that screenshot kept around for later if I ever need to get access to it. And then I can just drop my screenshot here and save that and do another -n, add instructions to readme to check answers. So we'll do that. Alright, and now we'll go back here and we'll close this issue so it's there if I need to use it again, but it's out of the way. And here, look at that, there's an image where you just put your answer. So, again I say to those of you watching, can you get this to work? Starting project, usage, running script problem 1, solution 0. Perfect, Mahir. Thank you for testing that out. Alright, now, see if you can solve it. And then see if you can get this thing working. Alright, so if you were watching closely, you saw that I already had the solution show up on my screen at one point, but hopefully you didn't see that, so you can do it for real yourself. Alright, we'll sign back in with me, 59355, go. Oh, come on, let's do that, that's better. Alright, so there's that. Now let's go back to that next issue that I had, which was to write tests. So let's see. Adding Jasmine to a node console app. How about that to start off? Unit testing node.js with Jasmine testing. Sure. Let's do that. What does that look like? npm init. Okay. npm install. -- save dev. That sounds reasonable. So let's not join your newsletter just this second, but we'll pull this over here and we'll try it. Alright, so we're going to do npm install Jasmine -- save dev, which should give me some new scripty things in my scripts block over in package.json. I think there's my test. Okay, and it should say something about Jasmine, which it doesn't. Node starter. I gotta change this to be starter. That didn't look right. Various project. Let's see, solution starting point for Project Euler. Okay. Euler node starter. Euler node starter. Alright, now there's Jasmine's dev dependencies. That's good. And it says in my thing over here, make sure the command line, okay, use Jasmine package, okay, open this, edit scripts to look like this. So, fine. That's not going to do it for me. I'm going to do it myself here. There's scripts. And paste that in. And save that. Alright, now what? Notice we have a test init and a test script. We've got a very empty project, so we need to initialize our Jasmine specs. Okay. npm run test init. Hopefully no one else but me has to do this, because I'm going to check in whatever this does. So npm run test init. Boom, doesn't like that. Dot. Failed. This is probably not a problem with npm. Okay. So test init worked fabulously. Well, pretty sure what it's going to try and do is create a specs folder and let me put stuff in there. This will call our package.json script and leave us with a few directories and files. Going forward, we'll use npm test. All right. Well, let's go forward with npm test. You're going to blow up for some other reason, right? Dot is not recognized as an internal or external command in Jasmine JS. Node modules. This is a brand new thing. Look how big node modules is already. Jasmine, bin, Jasmine JS. Am I really going to want to look at this? Dot is not recognized. What line number? Hey, we need some zoom in on the... Oh, thank you. Sorry. Preferences, settings. I have it set on Visual Studio, but it's probably not quite big enough on VS Code. And I have a pretty big monitor, so how about that? There we go. Now how do I make this bigger? I should do that too. So Ace Flameseer, I appreciate the feedback. Sorry about that. Tell me if this is too big now, but hopefully it's good. Alright. I'd like to make my PowerShell window bigger. I'm sure there's a way to do that. Let's Google for that real quick. Unless somebody gets to it first. VS Code, increase, font size, terminal window. Terminal window font size. What do you know? Let's go back to specification, settings, text editor, application, search terminal. Terminal. There's a JSON file somewhere. Just go settings.json. Terminal. What do I want? Integrated font size. Alright, let's just do that. Place overrides here. Integrated font size 20. Does that work? I don't know if that works. While trying to set that would be a fun thing to do. Of course, font size has a capital S. That's brilliant. Set that. That's bigger, isn't it? There we go. And then Control plus. Yeah, that does all of code. That's helpful. But I want to just set the fonts. Thank you, though. Some zoom in on the browser. On the browser. Alright. That I know how to do. There we go. Thank you, everybody. I'm still learning the streaming stuff. Alright. Let's figure out why this didn't work. Node.js, npm test. None of this is working. So let's get rid of our settings. Let's go back to here. And when I say to try and do npm test, it blows up and says dot is not a recognized command. It's running this. Is it failing because of that dot right there? Maybe? That would be stupid, but let's see what that does. No, I can't find it. Alright, so you need that dot. Okay. Dot is not recognized. Right. Very helpful. People in the comments, you've been very helpful so far. Time to earn your keep. What's going on here with this Jasmine stuff? Anybody? Jasmine JS. I've used Jasmine before, and it has never been a problem. I'm sure I'm not going to debug Jasmine.js to figure it out. So the question is, what do I need to do to get this test script to be correct? I think it needs a specs folder. Pretty sure that's going to be a definite thing we'll need. And inside there, we're going to need a .js for our first test. Is there an example of a test here somewhere? Maybe. Your first Jasmine spec. How about that? Oh, what version of Jasmine did I install? That might be my issue, because I haven't used the latest one. Where's my package JSON? Jasmine 3. This is Jasmine 2. I've definitely not kept up with Jasmine 3. Let's do this. Get started. Jasmine for Ruby. No, 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 no. I don't want Ruby. I want Jasmine. Jasmine for Node. Okay, npm install Jasmine. Did that. And then Node. Let's try that. Okay, so copy that and try it. You're gonna blow up. Ooh, you didn't blow up. Look at that. Ooh, specs, not spec. Okay, that's good to know. Or no, I said specs. It said spec. Alright, cool. Now this is looking better. Set Jasmine as your test script in package JSON. I think we're on the right path. Let's get rid of what we had. Let's put in that. And then npm test. Started, no specs found. Perfect. Alright, that's progress. Let's see now. Let's do a quick commit. No specs. And we'll push that out there. So if you all are following along at all, you can do a git pull and you'll have at least this much. Alright, now under specs, I think I'm going to want to create a spec. So in my docs here, so getting started doesn't have a whole lot. I just want to create my first test. So we'll go to the docs, and we'll say node.js, and we'll say npm install Jasmine. I think I did that. Init, generate samples. I don't think I really want that. Do I? Generate example spec and source files. Let's just see what that does. So we'll do Jasmine examples. See if that works. Jasmine is not recognized because we didn't actually install it. I will go ahead and install Jasmine globally. And make a note that you need to install Jasmine if you want to do this. And we'll do that. And that did something. What did that do? Oh, Jasmine examples. Nice. Player spec. Song and player. Do all these things. Coolness. Alright. So I really just want a spec for problem1.js. And that can probably just drop right into the root of specs. So, configuration, I don't want to change that, running tests. Is it going to be just npm? It'll just be npm test to run the tests. Alright, so, I don't want to change any of that. This all looks fine. So I just need an example of a spec, which I have here, I think. I'll just copy that into my specs. No, my spec folder. Okay. Let's call, I think I want a subfolder here. Anybody think so? I'll call it solution specs or solutions. We should match. How about solutions? We'll just call it solutions to match the other one. Alright, and then in there we'll paste in this. We'll rename it problem1 spec. Rename problem1 spec. Okay, so we're going to describe. In hindsight, I probably should have called that solution1, not problem1, but that's alright. Problem1 is going to require // solutions / problem1, I think. It does not need that. This is, what do I have in here? Do I have a class or anything? I just have some function. I should probably have a class. Player var problem1 and var problem1. Alright. Jasmine example. Where is this player that you're talking about? In live examples. Jasmine examples. There it is. So you have a function player with a prototype with a bunch of things. So I'm going to steal that for my problem1, I guess. And I guess we'll call it capital problem1. And it will have, does it need a prototype? It doesn't really need a prototype. Play function, I don't know. Let's keep looking at this. Here, prototype, pause, resume, module exports. I do need that. This is totally changing how I was doing these previously, but I think this will be better because I'll get to use more of the class-based JavaScript stuff. So back in here, you know what, let's just grab the whole thing, because I'm going to screw this up. Favorite. Because that went with that, and that was all by itself. I see. Alright. And then it just sets those that way. Alright. Alright, that's easy enough. Module exports, I just need that. On problem1, and we'll go here. Alright, now my example has been to have a solve function, so I think I just want this prototype.solve function, and solve never takes anything, so that's empty, and this does a whole lot of nothing right now. Module.exports problem1. Okay. And really, I could stuff this into here for problem1. And then this var sum multiples has to go somewhere else, but we'll leave that there for now. Okay, so then in problem1 spec, the important part of this is that I have a problem1 and I export it. So over here, I can say require problem1, and before each thing, problem1 equals new problem1. So now we'll have this var problem1, and it should return 0. Let's see, should be able to play a song. It should return 0 from solve. So problem 1 dot solve. Why do you not have a solve? Let's see. Let result equal. Hey, off 0 Bobby. Control plus scroll up. You're still talking about zooming, I think. If you're not, then I'm not sure what you meant. Expect result to equal 0. Demonstrates use of custom matcher. I don't know what that is. Demonstrates use of other things. Alright. I don't need any of this stuff here. I don't think. So let's just see what this looks like. Should return correct answer from solve to do, change this to correct answer. I don't think I need that. Alright, so with that, let's see what happens if I try and run npm test. Found a bunch of specs, and they're all green, so that's cool. Let's make sure that it actually is doing something that I expect. Let's change that value. So I like to see my tests fail. Boom. Expected 0 to be 100. Alright, sweet. Alright, so we'll leave that as 0. Actually, let's give them a breaking one. So, okay, so when you run that test, it's going to want you to change that. Okay, so then we can get rid of our Jasmine examples out of here and out of here, because I don't think I want to commit those. So let's make sure npm test still works. That's great. Alright. Git status. Git commit dash m. No, I always forget to add. Git add all the things. Git commit. Got Jasmine working with one placeholder test. And git push. Alright, so there's like 8 of us here working on this. Let's try and TDD problem 1. I'm going to branch for this, so git checkout -b Ardalis prob 1 test. Alright, now I'm on a different branch, and I can play around here. Let's see. I think we're going to want some different bits for this. So let's go here, and problem 1 tries to solve this with a whole bunch of stuff. But I'd like to test it in pieces. So how can I do that? Let's do first let's do a test of a known good scenario. So a known good scenario is always a good test to do, and in this case our known scenario is multiples of 3 and 5 less than 10 are 3, 6, 9, and 5, which is 23, right? So let's do another prototype of solve function return some multiples 10, and we know this returns 23, and this should be solve, we'll call it solve 10. We're going to get rid of it eventually, or refactor it in any case. We'll come back to our spec, and we'll say it should return 23 from solve 10. And let result equal this of solve 10, and we expect this to be 23, and We'll save that, and we'll do another npm test, and we should have a couple tests now. 2 specs, 2 failures. Alright. 0, 23. Okay. Now, I can make this thing work by just saying that this thing always returns 23. But in here, I want to start really working on this sum multiples function. And sum multiples could actually even be its own separate module or class eventually. But for now, let's just return. Yeah, these Project Euler problems don't always lend themselves well to TDD. Like, what do I want to test? Do I want to test that I know how to get a sum? Do I want to test that I know how to get multiples? I could just return 23, but that's not terribly useful here. I think if I had link, I would just do a link expression on basically any number. Let's just start with a for loop. So it's just going to give me a helper. How do I get this? There we go. Let index equal 0, index less than max, index plus plus. I don't have an array. It's not quite what I wanted. Alright, so we're going to start with 1, right? And we have a sum, and we'll say if index percent 3 equals 0, then we will increment, we're going to do an OR statement here, or index percent 5 equals 0. Then we'll just do sum plus equal. This isn't really the most TDD way of doing it, but it should work, right? So find the sum of all multiples, 3 and 5 less than max. Multiple, multiple, sum, return the sum. That might actually do it. So let's try our npm test. 2 specs, 1 failure. Expected 233168. That sounds like the right answer to me. So I'm going to take that, and I'm just going to make that be my answer for the other one. So there. Save that. Run our test. 2 green dots means it passed. So now I could go out to here, and I could come to my problem. And there's 233168 because I actually answered that a while ago. But you can see that I got it right. So if you are following along yourself, hopefully you have a spec that has at least this one, and this 23 one is a nice one to include because we knew that from here, right? And a lot of times on these Project Euler things, they'll give you a starting point, a first test that you can work toward, and then for a lot of the problems, you can actually have an algorithm that will give you the correct answer, and it works for the small, simple case that they give. But if you don't refactor it or come up with a better, more efficient algorithm, you won't be able to do it like in a reasonable time. So if your program runs for more than, I want to say like 30 seconds, I think is what they suggest, your algorithm probably isn't the right one for these Project Euler problems. All right. So now we've got an example of doing the first problem, and I think things are looking okay. If we go look at problem 1.js, I'm putting this into its own little function. I don't think I like that. I really think this should either be inside of solve, or solve should call something that's not this. This seems ugly JavaScript code. So how would I refactor that? Can I do how do I do a private method on problem 1? Do I have to put it up in here? Is that it? My JavaScript is way weaker than my C#. And the other question is, does this still work? Well, I guess this still works. But should this change? Because this should probably be newing up problem 1 and calling its solve method, right? This should say, well, and its solve method should probably take in the argument. So maybe this becomes let problem 1 equal new problem 1, return problem 1 dot solve for 1,000 instead of that. And if that's the case, then this becomes max, and this becomes max, and this solve 10 really just becomes return solve with 10, and then my test over here needs to call this with 1,000, and that should do it, right? So now we run this test, and it blows up. Solve is not defined. Solve 10. Doesn't like, is it this? There we go. Alright. And so at that point, I probably want to have this be inside of there. But it shouldn't be a var. That's not the right syntax to use inside of a class style definition. Anybody? No? Let's go find that. Defining private function in JavaScript class ES6. Okay, so working with ES6, const private methods, export that. Is that really what we want to do? I don't really care if the private method is totally accessible or not. I just feel like I don't want to export it. Right, I think I can just do that, which is basically take what I already have and stick it inside of the class. So then this, right now this is in the global space, I believe, which I don't think I want. I think I can just drop that into there, right? Now you're saying value is never read. It's called by my prototypes, isn't it? I feel like this is not going to work. Boom. Return dot call. Is that what I need? That's what this is saying. This is saying private method dot call. Service prototype. Public method equals function private method dot call this var private method. But you're putting that prototype call inside the class. So maybe that's part of my problem. Maybe these should be moved up into here, like that. call? I don't know if you need the call. Okay, that works. Alright, so now I've got a class, and it's got some private implementation that actually does the work. I've got my solve, which I'm keeping simple. It just calls that. I've got solve 10, which I don't think I really need at this point. Let's just get rid of that. And let's just refactor our test to use it, and I don't need that. Return from solve with 10, and this becomes solve with 10, and our tests look good. Alright, so now that's got everything that I was doing in mind. I want to take that code and apply it to the master sample so that y'all can start from that. So I'm going to pull this over. Nope, that's not what I want. What do I want? I want that. Copy all that to. I'm sure there's a way to do this better with Git, but I'm just going to steal the code, go back to master, and then take that same code and paste it over top of that. Alright, and then this still becomes that to do find sum of multiples of 3 and 5 right there. But now that looks better. Alright, so then this becomes, let's see if npm test still works, or still fails in the way we expect, which is great. And then let's change this to, should return correct answer from solve. Yeah, I don't know how to say that any better. Alright, so git commit dash n refactor to use class git push. Alright, so if you are working on this and you have fork or clone, you should be able to update to the latest and see this working. Let's try and solve one with the next one that I actually have to solve. So we'll do a for real one. Actually, the other thing to check is to make sure that I can still do whatever that node syntax was that was here. So when I want to run this with this, does that still actually work? No, solution.solve. So I've managed to break it. Alright, well we should fix that. Alright, var result equals solution.solve. Solution equals require solutions. Oh, am I being stupid again? No, that's one. So we should be looking for problem 1. Solution.solve is not a function. Solution require solution.solve. There's solve. Did I screw it up with this export, I wonder? I must have. Can you not export multiple things from a file? I think I can. So we did this to make it more testable and let Jasmine access that class. Exports.solve. That should just be its own. Like, if I don't new this thing up, I should just be able to call that, right? He said with limited knowledge of how Node and JavaScript work. Nobody's offering any suggestions here. Solution.solve. Alright, so if I get rid of that, it means my test probably won't work. But does this suddenly work then? Yes. Usage. Solution. 0. Okay. So how do I export just this solve function if I also want to export a class? That seems to be the question. So JavaScript export class and function. Export. You would have to export it on the prototype. If you do that, you won't call the function in the class object context. Blah, blah, blah. You have to export it as a separate variable. Alright. Named exports, default, mixed name and default. Okay. Export a const, export a function. What am I doing? I'm doing exports.solve. So I'm not actually doing any of these. I was doing exports dot. So what's the difference between export and exports dot something? Module.exports, exports equal. Always use module.exports. Module. So module.exports equals greet becomes that. Okay. This is interesting. Module.exports. What am I using? Exports.solve. The other one is saying module.exports equals. So if I say export function solve equals, which is basically what this one has, what would that do? Export function like that. Will that work for me? Let's try that. So copy this. We'll say export function solve. We'll comment out this one. We'll try and run it. Unexpected token export. So am I not using the right version of ES6 or something? How does it not recognize that? It's probably a Googleable thing. Let's see, unrecognized token export, ES6. Yeah, that's been seen before. Export this. You are using ES6 module. That means your environment must support ES6 module syntax. Node.js uses CommonJS module syntax, not that. Use Babel to transpile, or use CommonJS. Okay, fine. I think I'm using CommonJS syntax, so we won't do that. And so we'll go back to what we were doing. It's great that there's just one way to do things in JavaScript. Alright. That works, but it doesn't give me my export of problem 1. And I want module.exports to return multiple things. And so modules plane exports property, exports as a variable at the end of the file, and it returns it. I think if I do that, I can get what I need. So let's try that. Alright, so we're going to say module equals that, exports equals that. Module.exports.problem1 equals problem1, maybe? Alright. I'm really just trying to make it so this thing runs the right way in both places. Solution.solve still doesn't work. So my index.js is nice because it kind of dynamically will pick up whatever problem n is that I have here. So when I pass in n, it grabs that argument off of the command line, throws it onto problem, whatever, and we call require problem n, which will do a require on this. But I want it to be able to get to this solve function directly. None of you people in chat know Node.js, apparently. Or at least you're not expert at it enough to tell me what I'm doing wrong. Alright, files a CommonJS module. It may be converted to an ES. Exports never used. Max is declared, so he's never written. Why are you telling me all that on this? Return module.exports. Alright, so math equals require that. This becomes that. Console log. This equals that. Alright. This is actually equal to module.exports. New object was created by that. This is what I was doing. Module.exports.add equals that, or exports.add equals that. Right, but why is it that I was just doing that and it worked fine until I did that and it was not fine? Let's see. doesn't work for that either. Can I read property solve of undefined? One spec, one failure. Problem one is not a constructor. Alright, at this point I feel like I'm getting hung up on stupid stuff, but I do want to get this right. So basically I want to be able to export if I'm never going to actually require more than one of these things. Maybe my problem is I should just name this thing something different. Instead of naming it problem 1, if I named it something like solution, then anything that does a require on this should be able to grab that same solution, and I can just export that, and it could have a solve method on it, which it does. Let's try that. Let's go down that path. So if I call this solution, and this is solution, and then I just do a module.exports.solve equals what I had before, so I don't need any of, I still need to export solution though, don't I? That's what's killing me. Module.exports solution. But then I go to my spec and it says go find me that. And this really becomes solution, and this becomes solution. Maybe. Try and test. Does it work? It fails in the correct way. Alright, that's fine. Then does this work? No. Solution.solve is not a function. Alright, so you're going to say require that. Result equals, what if I say it requires new solution.solve? Bam! Alright, that does it. So that. Did I gain anything by renaming it? Maybe I should keep it problem 1. Anybody? Anybody got any thoughts on that? Keep it problem 1 or change it to solution? This has to scale to where I'm going to have like a lot of these. Let's see, I no longer need any of that. This one should stay. So wait a minute, there's no way this works. So there's nowhere for me to pass in the max. Shoot. This basically has to be 1,000 there, but that doesn't work. Solve for max. Do that. Alright, so solve is the one I'm going to call always from index.js. Calls back to problem 1. here. This is going to call return correct solution from solve. Alright. But I want to be able to also call the other one if I want to. So that's fine. We'll call these problem 1, problem 1. Alright, naming things is hard, right? Do we get 0? Yes. Do we get a passing or a single failing test? Yes. Alright, so if I'm a new user coming into this thing, I come to the README, do that. Let's also say npm test, and do that. Alright, this should run the first solution. Folder, need to calculate the correct answer here. There, alright. There, alright. Okay, some more details on the README. I think we're in good shape now. Alright, so we got test that fails as expected. We've got index 1, okay. We got README, a couple things are changing. And clean things up to make them work from tests and console. Boom. Alright, so if you want to follow along, you can go to Ardalis Euler node starter. You can fork it, you can clone it, whatever you like. And you should star it, because right now it has 0 stars and it feels sad. But in here, you should be all set and ready to go to start one of these. I am going... Can I fork my own thing? I don't think I can. Can I? Oh, you've already forked it. I'm going to just work in a branch for now to work on the next Project Euler and see how that goes. So the next one for me, if we go to archives, is going to be Lattice Paths. Let's see what that sounds like. Starting in the top, I thought I'd solved this already. Starting in the top left corner of a 2x2 grid, and only being able to move along the edges, you can see there's exactly 6 routes to the bottom right corner. How many routes are there through a 20x20 grid? I really thought I'd done this one already. Let me see if I have that in my other example. It's problem 15. Nope, I don't seem to have it. Alright, so let's do this. Let's do a branch. Ardalis / prob 15 we said. Okie doke. And let's create a problem 15. Rename that problem 15.js. It has a solve, which is eventually going to work. I'm going to copy this as well. Okay, so I got a problem 15 spec. var, let's see, describe problem 15, 15, 15, 15, 15, 15. Alright, should return the correct answer from solve. We'll keep that one. And it should return the correct answer, return the known good answer from solve for, what we got, 2 by 2? Solve for 2 by 2. So, solve, we'll just pass in a 2. Solve for n, problem 15. Expect that to equal 6. Is that what they said? 6. Alright, save that. Don't need that. And npm test. I don't want this one to keep giving me errors, so we'll just leave that one at 0. Alright, 3 specs, 2 failures. Problem 1 is not defined. I'm sure I missed a problem 1 in here somewhere. Right there. 15. Alright. 3 specs, 2 failures. I should leave that one alone. We need to solve that. So solve for n. Does that even exist yet? Solve for n. Function equals dimension. And we're not doing some multiples anymore. The algorithm for this is going to be something like n times n minus 1 over 2 or something like that. So if dimension is 2, it'll be like, obviously that one doesn't work. But for now we're going to do this, return 6. And solve, we're not going to mess with yet. But this should probably be 15. And this should probably be 15. I'm not sure. And that becomes 15. I wonder again if maybe this should just be a standard named thing, so I don't have to touch that every time I do a new problem. But come back to that. Alright. 3 specs, 1 failure. And it's the expected failure. Alright, so we're returning 6 hard-coded for dimension works. Let's say if dimension equals 2, then we'll just return 6. Okay. And go right, down, do how many combinations of rights and downs such that at the end of it you've got 2 rights and 2 downs. So how do I get up to 20 rights and 20 downs in any sequence? To do that, let's see. Need dimension rights and downs in any combination. So if dimension equals 1, options are dr or rd. If d equal 2, options are rrdd, rd, down, right, down, right, and what else? down, down right, and down right, down right. Right? That sounds right. So what is the algorithm for that? If d equals 3, we need everything from RRRDDD to DDDRRR. Generalized algorithm for that I don't know off the top of my head. So, but I think the math is becoming clearer. It definitely expands rapidly. Length of the total is just d times 2. So I need d times 2 operations. But it's not. Let's see. From anything that's not an edge, you always have two options, right, down or right. But if you are all the way at the bottom, or if you're all the way to the right, then you only have one option. So everything in the middle always has two, but the edges only have one. I think that's what's constraining the algorithm. I've seen this algorithm before. Pretty sure I solved this once before. Let me see. Algorithm for paths through a n by n grid. There's a Stack Overflow answer for this. I could find, but I'm not very clear. Alright, so let me see. This is the Stack Overflow. This is a mathematical, not a programming question. Yeah, that's true. That's why I'm looking for the algorithm. So let's start with the robot can make exactly choose n out of from 2n paths. Choose which of these 2n will be right, the rest are down. And there are exactly n of those. Just generate all binary vectors of size 2n. Get right moves, you're going to get down moves. Let's expand to all paths. For each I, from 0 to 2n, for each j, interesting. This is what I seem to recall was the algorithm. 2n factorial over n factorial squared. Is that right? Let's see. Copy that and see if that's what we want. Alright, so possible algorithm is this 2n factorial divided by n factorial squared. So let's try this out on my sample cases. If n is 1, then I get 2 factorial divided by, which is 2, divided by 2 times 2, basically. And that pretty much gives me 2. If I have the n equals 2, then I have 4 factorial divided by 4 factorial, no, 2 factorial times 2 factorial, which is 2. So 2 times 2, which is 4. So 4 factorial divided by 4 becomes 3 factorial, which becomes 6. That seems right. Now for d equals 3, 2 times 3 is 6, so 6 factorial divided by 3 factorial times 3 factorial, which is 36. That becomes whatever 6 factorial is divided by. So let's bring this over here. We'll say 6. It's already unscientific. Where's my factorial button? Really? No. Okay, fine. Google. 6 factorial. 720, thank you. So 720 over 36. Whack 36 equals 20. Alright, so that would be 20. Alright, so now I could write some more tests, because I've got this algorithm. And so I believe that if I pass in a 1, I should get a 2. 2 should be 6, 3 should be 20. So problem 15 spec, solve for n of 2 is 6. Solve for 1 by 1 is 2. We should return 2. Should return 6. And it should return whatever that number was that we have, 20 for 3 by 3. Right? Solve for n equals 3, should be 20. Now we can run some tests, which have several failures. I have 3 failures. So now I want to implement this problem 15 in some fashion that actually does my algorithm. So, is there a factorial built into JavaScript? There probably is. Function. It's just math. There's factorialize. What effect is? You can search for Wolfram Alpha. You can write a function recursively or iteratively. Alright. Margus answer. I don't really care how fast this is. Let's grab. Why do I need an array? It seems strange. Alright, let's take that and see if it works. So we'll just get rid of our sum of multiples. We don't really need that. We will take a factorial function, and if dimension equals 2, return. That's not what I want. I want to say what answer equal. My algorithm is two times factorial of dimension divided by factorial of dimension times factorial of dimension. Right? Still no comments from the peanut gallery. You guys are awfully quiet. That's my answer. I just want to return it. So I can really just say return right there. That's fine. And solve become return for 20, right? So return solve for n. This dot solve for n of 20. Alright, so let's do an npm test. Boom. Invalid something or other. So what's the problem here? Doesn't like factorial? That can go away. What is F? That's this. Well, hopefully your bash script is cooperating with you, Auth0 Bobby. Alright, so syntax error, invalid or unexpected token. Where? None of this is my code. I'm guessing it's the way I'm doing this. What if I just do this recursive one instead? So we'll get rid of F, put this in here. Function factorial, which calls itself. Okay. Alright. I have a feeling that's not going to work because the number's going to get too big. Interesting. That got to be a really big number. Three failures. Expected 0.333 to equal 20. Expected 1 to equal 6. Alright. 2 times factorial 2n. Oh, that's not right. It's factorial of 2 times. There we go. Let's get the algorithm right. 5 specs, 1 failure. There we go. That's better. So that's my expected answer. This is how it's supposed to work. If I plop that into my -1, get rid of this to do, try this for my answer, save it, run it, everything works. Try the npm, or sorry, try the node, that one. This should give me the same thing. It does. Alright, so then the real test is whether or not this passes the test on Project Euler, which was here. And we think, let's make sure our confirmation code is still good. We think the answer is this. And we say 64522. Check it. Yay! Alright, so we got this answer. 15 is correct. Happy with that. And that'll be enough for today for streaming. So I'm going to push this over into my other repo that I have where I'm actually tracking my own progress. So final bits here. Let's see, this here is where you want to start. You should star it because nobody's started yet. And use this as your starting point. You can actually just fork it. That's probably a smarter thing. And then work from here on solving out these Project Euler things. If you have any issues or things you want to add, go in here. This is done. I should have referenced it in a pull request, but we'll close that out. And that's all I got for today. So hopefully this is interesting for some of you. I'm going to be streaming again at least one more time this week. I'm just trying to hit a 7 streams in 30 days thing so I can get up to the Twitch affiliate status. Normally I'm streaming on Fridays at noon, typically about .NET Core topics these days and clean architecture, domain-driven design, stuff like that. So catch me like 12 to 2 Eastern time on Fridays. and then occasionally with one-off things like today, where we'll just play around with something else. Thanks. I'll talk to you all later.